So I've heard many people say that they think Bryan Singer's 1995 film The Usual Suspects has no rewatch value whatsoever. Well, I'm here to offer a couple of interesting insights that prove to those types of people that The Usual Suspects has plenty to offer time and time again. San Pedro, California is the stage for the aftermath of a fiery mystery aboard a docked ship. 27 bodies and $91 million worth of drug money attract the interest of the FBI and U.S. Customs. The only survivors are a severely burnt Hungarian and the crippled conman Roger Verbal Kint. Verbal tells the story of how he and four other felons, Hockney, McManus, Fenster, and Keaton, were rounded up and put into a lineup 6 weeks ago in New York for a trumped-up charge about stolen gun parts. However, U.S. Customs agent Dave Kuyan is not willing to let Verbal go without digging deeper into his story. He learns that the five men forged a loose accord to engage in a series of daring, highly profitable heists that led them out to Los Angeles into an unforeseen, threatening situation. As Kuyan probes Verbal for the truth, FBI Special Agent Jack Bayer discovers that the Hungarian says he saw the devil. He saw Kaiser Söze, the most feared and mythic of crime figures, and no one has been able to identify him until now. Verbal's twisting story unfolds as Kuyan and his colleagues slowly assemble the fragmented pieces of this puzzle, which may lead directly to the identity of Kaiser Söze. So The Usual Suspects is a film that is a bit more special to me than a typical film usually would be, because it was released in my favorite year of film, 1995. There are so many films that become favorites of mine that were released that year, including Michael Mann's Heat, Seven, In the Mouth of Madness, Lord of Illusions, The Prophecy, Strange Days. So many films that I love on such a deep level were jam-packed in that great year. I just love it inside and out. And The Unusual Suspects is an exceptional film, worthy of all the praise it has gotten, and I think it deserves a little bit more praise than certain people give it credit for. Because there are certain films that have their twisting and turning narratives with twist endings that come out of nowhere, and some of them just don't hold up on repeat viewings. They just don't have that extra multi-layered dimensional quality to really kind of give you something extra to look forward to on repeat viewings. But The Usual Suspects is not one of those films. It has those multi-layered qualities. Very subtle things going on throughout the whole film that build up and interweave into this great narrative that I really, really admire so much, because I'm not a person who can write a mystery. And when I see something executed so perfectly, so wonderfully, something just with so many fine details and layers and everything, it just impresses me on such a deep level. But before I get too deep in that sort of thing, what I absolutely love about this film is how perfectly film noir it is. The cinematography in this film is gorgeous in my view. Fantastic use of light and shadow, smoky imagery, so many good colors that they're used in the right ways, because it takes a certain cinematographer, a certain filmmaker to take what you worked in the black and white film noir style and apply it to color, and use it in the right ways, use color in the right ways to accentuate tones and moods and vibes and everything throughout the whole film. And this one uses it very subtly. It's not using over-saturating things, but it uses it with the right sort of temperatures and everything in the right moments. And I love all the moments where there's these great, beautiful backlit scenes in the night shots and various other things. It just brings such a great glowing quality, such a great vibrancy and mysterious quality to everything. Very shady, shadowy type of stuff that is just, again, perfectly film noir in this film. Just fantastic cinematography from a fantastic cinematographer, Thomas Siegel, who has done fantastic work throughout his career. And John Ottman's score completely complements that fully. This has got to be one of my favorite film scores of all time, because it's so rich and deep and textured and vibrant in my view that it brings that perfect film noir style to the whole film, with these fantastic themes that it has going throughout the whole film that accentuates the mystique, shadiness, and the shadowy qualities of the whole film just perfectly. Everything is so perfect in that regard. And John Ottman was also the editor on the film. I think this is one of the best edited films I've probably ever seen. His editing is so sharp, so tight, so clever. I love the transitions this film has between everything, between the flashbacks from one scene to the next. There's so much great punctuation on what he does in the editing, and in addition to the sound design as well. It all complements each other, all flows in together. It's such a rock solid, tightly interconnected style that just so much perfect punctuation on every cut. But he also knows how to be conservative with his cuts. He doesn't cut all the time. He's not trying to be flashy. He's not trying to be quick cut or whatnot. He's trying to establish mood, and sometimes whole scenes will go without a single cut. There's just these great shots from the cinematographer that just linger and hold your attention. And just, there's so many great things. There's such a marriage. It's so great when you have that marriage between a great cinematographer and an editor who knows how to let the shots of the cinematography glow and shine on the screen to really kind of absorb you into the film as this very symbiotic type of thing. And it's great when you have a filmmaker who can bring those elements together and execute them on such a perfectly punctuated level. Now, for me, one of the things that makes the film very much rewatchable in my view is the great, fantastic performances here. You've got a stellar cast. And the one that really always stands out to me, makes the film enjoyable and entertaining, is Chazz Palminteri as Dave Kuyan. Because I like the character of Kuyan because he is not cliched. He's not that guy who's obsessed, going after Keaton, breaking all the rules, tearing himself apart. He's not cliched. He is intense. He's a sharp, dedicated investigator. But you can see the intensity when he's in there in that office and talking to Verbal Kint, trying to shake loose every little piece of details that he can to deconstruct this entire minute, detailed plan that doesn't quite fit in his mind. But when he walks out of that room, walks out of that office, you can see that he can walk away from it, that everything he's doing is an act to get the truth from him. He walks out of the office, he's glad-handing his colleagues and everything. He's not that guy who's going to be torn apart and be a cliche type of investigator. He's very much a sharp, level-headed, clear-minded guy, and I like the intelligence of the character so much because he isn't clouded by emotion. He can go ahead and detach himself, walk away from it after everything's done, as long as everything makes sense. But beyond that, you've also got the crew in this film. I like the dynamic between the crew of these criminals in the film, because they are sort of bonded together out of a shit circumstance. They don't all get along. They're not all compatible personalities. You got Kevin Pollak as Hockney, who is very much kind of like the wise ass of the group, very much cynical, sarcastic type of guy. You got McManus, who's the hard-assed, hothead of the group. He's going to be this guy who acts on impulse. He's not someone who's going to think things through too much. He's kind of he just goes for things. But then you got Fencer, who Benicio del Toro did a great job, because he took what was admittedly a nothing character on the page, someone who was supposed to be in the film for a single purpose, to be disposable, and he made him almost an invaluable character, very much an invaluable role to his entire career. It launched his career completely. He brought such a unique approach, just add all these eclectic type of elements to the character of Fencer that just make him a much more interesting, memorable character that just has chemistry with McManus and everything. Just did a fantastic job. But then there's Dean Keaton, portrayed by Gabriel Byrne, who I think does an excellent performance in this film. Byrne, I feel, exemplifies Keaton's struggle between the ex-convict that he was and the legitimate man he is trying to become now. But the system will not allow him, including Dave Kuyan, to become the man that he wants to be, this better man. And thus that drives him back to being the man he once was. Byrne does such a great, fantastic performance, showing this man who's trying to fight his own nature, who is completely discontent, trying to separate, trying to reconcile these two halves of his own person. It's just a great performance. He's got such an electric quality on screen, and I love Bryan Singer's statement in the commentary on the film saying that Gabriel Byrne is probably the most easily complex actor. There's just something within the fiber of this man that just penetrates the screen in such a easily complex fashion that you just see that this guy has a weathered and weary quality to him. A lot of miles treaded, and there's a lot of things that Dean Keaton has been through. Very shady stuff, very criminal activities that no one's been able to pin on him. He's a very shady individual, very much the type of guy who is fighting his own nature. And it's very interesting, very fascinating character that he portrays in the film, that he does such a remarkable job in this film. And it took a lot of poking and prodding from Bryan Singer for Gabriel Byrne to finally accept the role, and it is great that he did so, because he does such a tremendous job in this film. But then you also have to walk over and take a look at Kevin Spacey in this film. Verbal Kint is that very interesting character who's completely unassuming, naive, and socially awkward and a bit quirky, but he is the most fascinating character in the whole film, possibly because of everything that leads into the ending of the film. Spacey portrays Verbal Kint in a very intelligent, underplayed fashion. He takes all these possibly very wonky, very kind of weird, sporadic type of qualities of this character, and he melds it all together in every single moment of his screen time to make it a very fascinating character to watch. All these physical twitches and everything, these tics and everything, every little quality of his performance is such a great menagerie, great mosaic of things that just come together in such a fascinating package. It's just that word fascinating. Just, there's so much depth and layers to this film with the characters, the plot, the story, everything just unravels and twists around to another thing, and that's just the perfect way to describe Spacey's performance, that he has so many things that he's going through in this film that you will not pick up on the first viewing, that you have to go back and watch it again with the knowledge of what exactly happens at the end of the film, the reveal of what happens at the end, and pick up a lot of different things, that you view his performance in an entirely different light the second time around. Certain things that might look mundane to you now turns out to be far more calculated. Things that seem a little strange, a little weird, certain looks that he has in the film now have a purpose. They have a meaning behind them. They mean so much more when you see it with the actual intent behind it now. There is such a great performance here by Kevin Spacey that, yes, he deserved that Oscar completely. He did such a fantastic performance here that one would not expect, because because Verbal is that unassuming character. But it's such a great performance by the end of the film. When you look back on everything and you see it, it is such a great thing. You just, like I said, it's one of those things that you go back and you watch it again and you see much more layer and depth and just so much more to it. And there's such a great, fantastic supporting cast in the film that I will just breeze over a little bit, but just Pete Postlethwaite, Giancarlo Esposito, Dan Hedaya, these guys do wonderful performances. They're just spot on, perfect, do the roles just right on the money. I love the quality of the film. It has some humor in it, a little bit here and there, a couple of funny quips here and there from certain characters that keep a light mood at certain points. Such a great balance that you have between the drama, the mystery, a little bit of humor, keep a little levity, keep a little light and entertaining, not so heavy and twisting and whatnot. You got those little breaths in between certain moments, between the flashbacks, really kind of catch your breath, think things through a little bit, absorb things as they go along. It's a very clever piece of structure in the film. It's very, very well structured, so smartly executed, so smartly written, that everything just kind of hits at the right moments in time. It doesn't feel jumbled, doesn't feel out of sync, whatnot. Every little piece of the plot comes together at the right moments in time to really just sell us as a fantastic mystery thriller. Of course, I can't go any further in this review without mentioning Kaiser Söze. In my view, one of the most brilliant cinematic creations of all time. A crime lord who purports his own myth to the fears and exaggerated stories of others. And you know, a spook story for criminals is perfectly film noir. Söze's an urban legend. Something that is so hard to grasp the truth about that you doubt it, but you dare not dismiss it for fear that it might actually be true. I also love that the subject of Kaiser Söze doesn't even appear until nearly an hour into the film, but the mystery of him exists from the start. This allows the story, the characters, and the world they inhabit to be firmly established and grounded in reality before this mythic figure is truly introduced. With the introduction of him, it elevates the tension and danger for absolutely everyone in the film. And in terms of the whole rewatch value of this film, I like that it uses a lot of misdirection. Even the camera lies to you sometimes. Some of the shots that this film uses lie to you. There are certain things that, such as when Verbal Kint is supposed to be running behind the whole spool ropes and everything, he never actually goes behind the ropes. The camera keeps going, but he's not there. It's misdirecting you. There are various things even from the beginning of the film, because you notice that the majority of the film, all the flashback stuff is told from Verbal's point of view, except for the first scene of the film. It's told from a completely objective perspective. No one's telling a story here. You're seeing what actually happened on that dock on that night, and showing that what this film does so brilliantly is wrap up every lie in a little bit of truth. Some of what Verbal tells you actually did happen that night. You see McManus on the ground with a knife in his back. You see Dean Keaton with his back broken, saying the exact same type of stuff in the exact same position he is seen when Verbal tells the story at the end of the film. There are various things throughout the whole film that lay a little bit of truth in with every single lie, and that is such the great thing about watching this film over and over again, is that you can pick up in all these little subtle details, all these little things that you're not quite thinking of at various points in time, watching it the first time or the second or third. You can pick up on these things and unravel the film even further, trying to decipher the perspectives, where the truth and the lies separate, where they meet, where they overlap, where things get smudged a little bit. That's the thing that you can really get from this film time and time again, is to see that this is a brilliantly executed, written, conceived, everything in this film is so brilliantly done, such subtle craftsmanship in every little aspect. I love what this film does. It even lays, like I said, little clues. You have little things like at the beginning of the whole thing, where you got Dan Hedaya and Chazz Palminteri just walking through the police station, and Dan Hedaya's character mentions this guy's protected high up by the Prince of Darkness, and you know what? Everyone in the film refers to Kaiser Söze as the devil. There are various things that just drop those little hints throughout the whole film that just like, if you're watching it time and time again, you'll pick up on this stuff and you'll get a much richer, deeper experience. It's not one of those things where you unravel the whole thing and it becomes less interesting. It deflates you. This makes it even more of a richer, more satisfying experience, because you can keep getting something more and more and more from it every single time you watch it. And that is an amazing thing, that they can add so much layers to this thing and make it such a fantastic film. This is such a great film. This is The Usual Suspects is deserving of probably even more praise than most people give it credit for, because it's been given plenty of praise, but when we really dig deep down into it, like I said, and watch it over and over again, you get that further, deeper experience with this film. Just like, it is so well crafted in so many ways on every single level. The technical qualities just shine through with the cinematography, the editing, the music. Everything in this film shows such vibrantly, lively talent in this film. There's just so many people at the top of their game, on the complete cusp of magnificence, in my view, that can't be topped. This sort of thing is just far more fascinating to me than most certain moviegoers tend to give it credit for, thinking, oh well, I know how I saw the end of the film, I know the twist ending, it ruins everything. No, it makes it more fascinating. Just watch it again. If you've not seen The Usual Suspects, I don't know why you haven't. Go see it. Notice I try to avoid as many spoilers as possible in this thing, because it really is worth seeing fresh for the first time if you can, because when I first saw this film, we rented it on VHS somewhere in the 90s, and I fell asleep somewhere partway through the film because it was late at night, and I don't think I ever really got the full impact of the fresh reveal at the end of this film. It is such a robbed opportunity, but you know what? I keep getting more and more from this film every time I watch it. So if you have any insights of your own to add to The Usual Suspects, I would very much welcome them. Or if you want to comment, tell me what your favorite film noir film is. Stuff like that. Favorite mystery type of thriller. Something like that. Just like, nothing's as sort of rewarding as a really good, well-crafted mystery, and this is one of the best I've ever seen. So get back to you soon with some more reviews at end of the month. So you should see hopefully a review for the new Transformers film. Hopefully it'll be better than some of the ones we've gotten lately, but we'll see what happens. But I definitely have a lot more films that I want to cover retrospectively. So we'll see what time allows, and definitely check things out later on. I'm falling apart right now. I've been talking a long time. So comment, subscribe, likes, all that kind of stuff. Share links around if you love the usual suspects. I would very much appreciate you sharing the love, spreading the links around, and letting other people see that there's a lot more to see in this film than more than just one time through. So I'll let you go. Take care. Bye bye.